Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news this Saturday night live. Good to be live with you on a Saturday night. Doesn't it just feel like we just need to play our game? I know we lost the opening game, but everybody's winning. Everyone's playing game two. I'm confident going into the game tomorrow, but I just want to get it played. I feel like waiting till Sunday again, just putting a little bit more pressure on us. Although Amrim says we're excited, we're certainly excited. Lots to get into tonight. Roma speaking about Sancho, absolutely spot on, basically saying he's got a bad attitude. Tell us something we don't know. Rasmus not with the travelling squad, so that's looking like it's going to move quite quickly for Napoli maybe. But we're going to start off about Bruno to Saudi. I've got to put my hands up and say that it's been a busy 24 hours. Obviously, a lot of work went into the Bundesliga thing last night, and we've had 2 watch-alongs going on today on That's Football. So, obviously, if anything super duper, here we go, had broken, we'd have been ready. But I had seen a few people talking about this on the watch-along chat on That's Football. But on checking it tonight, there is a raft of stuff. I thought it was going to be like some crappy ITK on Twitter. The Sun, okay. Daily Mail, Manchester Evening News, Mirror, Goal.com, another one from Manchester Evening News, Metro, Sports Mole, loads and loads of articles about Bruno Fernandes being in secret talks to go to Al Ittihad in a shock late transfer. Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water, it comes back again. I'm going to run a poll here. You know, we can do this. Don't worry about it. Would you sell Bruno to Saudi now? Look, we did this at the start of June, after the season, and I think it was 70-30 in favour. I'm just intrigued to know where this community tonight, if I said to you, there's, I don't know, 80 million quid, 90 million quid for Bruno, would you take it now? Season started, only a week left in the window. Would you do it? Just let me know. Do I think there is anything in this? I mean, it's preposterous. It's absolutely preposterous. It's not really a conversation I want to be having, but it is out there. Secret talks, a late bid, would have to be a super duper mega offer to make Bruno think about it. It's a story I don't want to revisit because it highlights the truth of where we actually were at the start of June and where we might have been if we'd done the deal. I.e., I think we'd have a really good goalkeeper and a really good midfielder. And I'd have done it. At the time, I'd have done it. But we've definitely moved on from that now and we can't do it. It has to be a no. It has to be a stone cold Steve Austin no. It's too late in the window. And even if you did get your 100 million, you're not going to be able to spend it in the same way you could have done at the start of June. So I think this is just nonsense. I think what it is doing is feeding into the fact that he probably, no, not a fact, feeding into the theory that he will go next year. I think that, you know, we've had that theory on the United stand for about 2 months. We've been talking about it as a conspiracy theory that he'll go in this financial year before the end of June next summer, early in the window before the World Cup. So literally probably go first week of June. I think that might happen. But we can't do this deal now. And I know 68% of you are saying you would, and I'm not having a pop at you at all. I can understand it. But it's all right taking £100 million on June the 1st and you've got 3 months, June, July and August to do something with it. You take £100 million now. One, he's playing the game tomorrow. Then he's got to go and have talks for half a week. You don't even get this money until about, you know, August the bloody 29th. Then you've got 3 days to buy 2 players. No, it's too late. It's got to be a no. Even if it's true, it's got to be a no. This is not enough time. Not enough time to do it. So a big fat no from me. Do I think there's anything in it? Honestly, when it's Saudi and it's a credible player that they'd want, which they do, they've wanted him for 2 years, I guarantee you it's true. I guarantee you it's true. It might have been inflated a little bit, but it will be true. It might have been an inquiry that's been knocked back, but it will be true because they've been desperate to get to Bruno to Saudi for years. So they will be there. They will be there. They'll be looking to do something in the window just the same as we are. So yeah, they will be looking to get Bruno in. I'm not going to deny that, but we can't do it because we haven't got time to do anything with it. And I understand the theory of going, we'll cash in on him now and get a midfielder and a goalkeeper, but realistically, you'd probably be knocking back on the door of Brighton saying, will you do a deal? And they'd probably say it's 120 million now, so you wouldn't even have enough anyway. So, no, I wouldn't do it. But the reality is, Bruno spent 2 weeks thinking about it in late May. He was going to go. He was thinking about going. People say he turned Saudi down. It wasn't like, can I buy you Ferrari? No. It was like, can I buy you Ferrari? I'll think about it for 2 weeks. I'll talk it through with my family. We'll go through the numbers. I'll speak to my accountant. That's what he did. He said no in the end, but he definitely thought it through. And I think it's probably the worst thing you can do with Saudi is think it through. Because if you think it through, they know they've got you. You've just got to go back again. And they will go back again. But I think it will be... It's very obvious to me that Bruno's attracted by that. Very obvious that he definitely thought it through. I just think he felt it was too early, which I understand. He's still one of the best players in the Premier League. I think he goes... Inevitably, he's going to go. I wouldn't say it's like Ronaldo and Real Madrid all those years ago, but I think it's inevitable he will go. And I think he will go next summer. And I think that really gives us enough time to replace him, which is probably what Ruben Amorim was asking for. So I would say this before I get into your comments and talk about other stuff. If there is truth in a late bid from Saudi, United need to do what they did in June. Turn it down. Because if you did do it now, I would say, even though I wanted to do it in June, why didn't we do it in June if you're going to do it now? So it's got to be a no. Let's prepare for it for next summer. Let's use Bruno now and let's prepare for it for next summer because it's still going to be there. It's still going to be Bruno Fernandes. So let's do it next summer, but not now because we haven't got the time to do anything with the money. And as much as I don't like Bruno in the midfield, I'd rather see him as a 10. It's just too late in the window. I don't know what you'd do with that money. And everybody would know that we've got it and they'd hike their own prices up. I think you're far better taking the money at the start of the window and utilising it in a better way. Even better than that, start lining up the replacements before he's even gone. But yeah, it would be ridiculous to do it this late in the window. But they are there. The Saudis are there. Whether it's Al Ittihad or it's Al Nazir, whoever it is, they will be there and they will come for him. But I'm not being a hypocrite. I think it's all about timing. I said I would have done it at the start of June. I do like Bruno, but as a midfielder and 100 million quid, I'd have done the deal and rebuilt the team, 100%. But not the last week of the window. That would be typically desperately stupid. So no, not for me. L72 Gaming says, Dowman looked great today. Do you think JJ plays in a year? Mate, I mean, look, you make a great point. We have got JJ Gabriel. We have immense competition for his shirt, for his signing and his name from all around Europe. We've managed to get him on a contract. They will be circling again. It's incredible to me that a 15-and-a-half-year-old is playing in the Premier League for Arsenal, and he won a penalty and he looked good. So it's just that old adage, isn't it? If you are good enough, you're old enough. So look, let's see. There is an element of physicality to this, just because JJ might not be ready at 15, but he might be a better player at 17. Like how people grow is, you can't control that. But I mean, that's exciting. It is exciting to see players of that age playing at that level. It's just incredible. I mean, absolutely incredible. As I said on the watch along, if you are an aspiring young footballer, don't feel the pressure that you've got to be playing for Man United at 15 and a half. It's not normal. It's not normal, but look, it's incredible, isn't it? Luke says, for the sake of Cobby, I would sell him now and save the funds for January when we can have a better understanding of our trajectory, says Luke. But then we'd only have 3 midfielders, Casemiro, Ugarte and Bruno. I think we haven't got enough as it is. I do think that we are playing a bit of a risk by letting Collier go and only having 4 midfielders. I think we're short in the midfield. Look, Rasmus hasn't travelled with the squad tonight. It's not really breaking news. It's logical news. He wasn't part of the team for Arsenal, and Šeško's more match fit now. So I didn't expect him to travel. They're trying to move him out to get money in. But I watched Arsenal today. Havertz got injured midweek. Saka's injured. Odegaard went off injured. These injuries are going to happen to us. So it worries me a little bit in the midfield if we don't buy one. That we've only, well, it worries me a lot in the midfield. And up front, if anything happens to Seshko, Xerxes been a bit injury prone recently. I don't want to see Cunha or Mbeumo or Mount playing as a striker. So I'm a little bit worried that we're letting Rasmus go anyway. But obviously he's going to go to help us get money for Lammens. And I understand why that's happening, because none of the bloody bomb squad will leave. We cannot heal with the team built around Bruno, says Keel. Anyone who was in the squad last season can go. Every single one of them is spineless. Would sell him and buy no one. He makes us worse, not at 10. Attrition. Bloody hell. 68% of you would sell Bruno now. I mean, I'm in the 32% there. I just think it's too late in the window. How much would we get for him next summer, Mark, says Kenzo? I mean, the price will come down. I think next summer you're looking at maybe 70. I mean, still a lot of money. 70 million pounds for a 32-year-old is still a lot. I mean, actually, I think he'll still be 31. But, you know, you'd still take it. I doubt it for now, but potentially, like the conspiracy theory, maybe saying we want him next summer, will you sell/move? Ray, even Ben Jacobs has said he agrees with the theory, but we said it first. And we're not in competition with Ben, but he may know something about it. Ours was just a conspiracy theory weeks ago, where we said, I wouldn't be surprised if United and Bruno said, give us one more year, because it feels like Bruno wasn't quite ready to go, and it feels like Man United didn't want him to go. I think there's a gentleman's agreement that he can go next summer before the World Cup, because Bruno will then be picked for the World Cup, he'll be ready for the World Cup, and then he goes and makes his money. So I think there is a gentleman's agreement. Maybe Amrim said, look, you can go, but I just need you for this year. And maybe Bruno went, to be honest with you, I still think I can offer something for a year. So I just have this theory that he's going to go before June the 30th next year, to go in this financial year before the World Cup. He definitely thought it through in big detail. And I think it will happen. And then that's a windfall for United, isn't it? And look, hopefully his parting gift can be captaining us back into the Champions League. Lee Willoughby says, I'd sell him now, but only if we got Belieber now. But would that make a mental off? That would take a mental. Yeah, we're not going to get Belieber even if Bruno goes, are we? Jose says, doubt extent of Onana's injury, frozen out of pre-season by Ruben, and United tried to avoid his value from dropping if it came out. Clear he's forced out. I mean, that's a conspiracy. That's a conspiracy. I mean, Onana has travelled with the squad tomorrow. Rasmus hasn't, but Onana has. Nobody knows whether he's going to start. I mean, I've never thought of that he might have been frozen out of the tour to try and force him out. I mean, you'd think that would come out, to be fair. I think he did get injured, but I hope he's not in goal tomorrow. I genuinely hope he goes with Bienda. I think it would be a contradiction to bring Onana back in for Bienda, who made one mistake. And it was costly, but I'd stick with Bienda and then bring Lammens in. I only see them selling Bruno now if they think they can get Belieber this year, says Seamus. I mean, imagine that. Bruno goes, Belieber comes in. That would be incredible. Who would you like as captain if Bruno leaves, says Santiago? I'm trying to think who's in the starting team, who's in the leadership team. Luke Shaw would probably get it, wouldn't he? Ewan's not happy about the disrespect on our captain. Well, at the end of the day, Ewan, it's great that you're not happy. I mean, I don't think it's great personally that you don't like it, but it is opinion. I mean, look, as I say, it's a no from me this late in the window. Do it next summer now. We should have done it at the start of the window or not at all. So I wouldn't do it now. Kirill says, with all due respect, I would take Bruno to the airport for the plane to Saudi. I do agree with Ewan, though. I mean, I really like Bruno, and if he was playing as a number 10, it would be a different conversation. I just think this midfield obsession is really why people would do this. We've all seen Bruno at this club for years, and I don't think any of us think he's a midfielder. And I think that's the problem. I think people look at it and go, we need specialists. It's like putting Rooney in the midfield. Brilliant player. He's going to run his socks off. But was he a midfielder? No, he never was a midfielder. And I don't think Bruno is. And I think that's why people feel like it. And it ends up being quite disrespectful to a player that's been a brilliant servant for us and is our captain but he is being played out of position. And I think that's the disrespect, is people say they drive him to the airport, but I think it's based on where he's being picked in the team, not on who he is or what he's been or how good he is. If he was playing as a number 10, I don't think people would be saying it. He's just being played out of position. And that's my counter argument, is that if you put Bruno as a 10, I'm happy. He's being played out of position. I suppose I'll be that blunt. He's being played out of position. Every time he plays in the midfield, he's being played out of position, in my opinion. And I hope it works out, but in my opinion, he's being played out of position. And I watched Arsenal today, and you've got Zubimendi and Declan Rice as a midfield too. And I'm like, they are specialists on a very high level. And we are using Bruno Fernandes there. And I don't think it's right. Tapping up or secret talks, what's the difference, says Baron? Well, again, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, tapping up is when you speak to a player without the permission of the club and you're not allowed to do it. They spoke to Bruno for 2 weeks during the end of our season. We spoke to Baleba for 2 weeks before we put a bid in. It seems nowadays you can just do it and no one complains. If Ruben is playing Bruno deep, please sell him, says Sanchez. And I can seriously see Man United getting top 5. The squad seems to be in a great spirits and everyone is gelling at training, says ISO. Yeah, let's just see what happens tomorrow first. I mean, this is what Ruben Amorim had to say. And it's probably, to be honest with you, it's probably how I feel about it as well. Let me just get it for you. On tomorrow's game, we go to the games. We know that it is really tough every week and the pressure is there. But in this moment, I am here today. I feel really excited to see the team again. And that is a very good feeling. So there is excitement amongst the team. There is excitement with the manager. And I think there's excitement in the fan base. But I've done the preview. We're live tomorrow. I'm excited. But there is an element of wariness. I think when you play the first game of the season and you lose and you play well, you're only ever 3 points off the top. When you lose the second game of the season, you're basically bottom of the league after 2 games, and you might be 6 points off Spurs and stuff like that. So I think that we've got to win tomorrow, and it is away. It is Fulham. It is their first home game of the season. And it might be a little bit more difficult than we're thinking. But I just want those points, like Tantric Monkey says. And if we do get the win, I think the optimism continues. If we lose, I know exactly where we'll be tomorrow. And I know exactly what the radio stations and the press will be saying on Monday morning. And I don't want to be in that position. I don't want to be in that position. Andreas, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. We only needed 110 this window. It's weird priorities, says Pete. Mount will play in the midfield, says Christopher, while he's fit. And Owen says, if it's 100 million, he should be on the airport tomorrow. If Madrid are dumb enough to give you Camavinga and get another player, take it and run, says Owen. And sell Bruno right now. Let's get the 200 million and get Haaland and Mbappe and play 4-4-2, says Hines. And Friday Night White says, do a deal where they pay now and we send Bruno in January. We get 3 months to fix a replacement. I don't think they'll do that, Friday Night Whites, to be honest with you. Andre Gomez says, if this were true and we sold Bruno right now, what's realistically stopping us from going back to Brighton and pay what they want for Baleba? Because we'd be paying money we don't have. If the Saudis gave us 80 for Bruno and Brighton want 110 for Baleba, you've got to find that 30 somewhere, haven't you? It's still a miscalculation. I don't understand why people want to sell our captain, says Andrew Lloyd. The heartbeat of our team, we fall apart without him. I think that's very true last season. But we finished 15th. Yeah. I think it's true. I think he is the heartbeat of the team, but we finished 15th. JE says, if you can get 80 to 90 million quid for Bruno, you've got to take it. I'd offer to buy Baleba and loan him back to his club for a season. Risk of having him a bad season versus risk of... So you'd sell Bruno and then you'd buy Baleba and loan them back. What would we do? What would we do with our midfield? We'd only have 3. We've only got 4 as it is, JE. Emily Derry says, we already need to sign a midfielder. Selling Bruno would mean we would need 2, and no way are we signing Lammens and 2 midfielders in 9 days. Great point, Emily. Bruno is not a midfielder, says Keel. And, well, I hope we get proved wrong on that. He is talking, which means he thinks about it again. Why would you keep a girl that constantly flirts with another guy, says Fred's Flintstone. And Bruno is going to play in the midfield, so I'd absolutely do it now and throw everything into Baleba. He's already willing to come, says Lee. And what if the Saudi pays £150 million, says Sandy? Well, yeah, I'd do it then. I mean, you know, you're putting the price at a price that, you know, we're not going to get. I don't think Bruno will go. He wants to stay in Europe, says Maliki. Dalman looked great today. I've done that one from i7-2 Gaming. What do you think? Ewan says, Mark, do you think to get the best out of Bruno, it would require Amrim to change away from his 3-4-3 to more like a 4-2-3-1? Do you think that would work? I think to get the best out of Bruno, you just play him next to Cunha. But then why did you buy him Burmo? I've been saying this for a long time. When we got Amrim in, I was like, oh, we're going to have another number 10. Like, I never for 1 minute thought Bruno Fernandes was going to play in the midfield pivot. I thought we've got one number 10 who's very good. We're now going to get 2. For me, I wouldn't have bought Mbeumo. I'd never even considered it. I'd have kept Bruno as the 10, with Cunha next to him, knowing that Ahmad can play there, Mount can play there, and Xerxes can play. I've got 3 backup number 10s behind Bruno and Cunha. I wouldn't have bought Mbeumo. I'd have bought a midfielder. And then I would have had the new midfielder, Agate, Casemiro and Mainu. So that's what I would have done. I'd still play Bruno as a 10. In fact, he did it in pre-season and he was very good. He could easily play number 10 in our team. But I think Amrim wants people who can dribble with the ball in that position. So, and maybe somebody who's a bit more mobile. So, but look, just Kevin said, wow. Obviously, you're asking me that question in hindsight. I never would have considered Mbeumo because I've got Bruno and then I'd have bought Cunha. I never would have considered buying 2 number 10s. So I wouldn't have bought Mbeumo. Now that we've bought him, I'm over the moon with him. I think he's a brilliant player. But what I'm saying is, I never would have done it because I never would have thought about having 2 number 10s. I would have only bought 1. But the minute you put Bruno in the midfield, then you need 2. I agree. So that's what he's done. He's made Bruno a midfielder and he's bought 2 number 10s because he doesn't like Bruno as a 10. But I would be playing Bruno as a 10. I think that's his best position, especially in this system. What are the chances of seeing the Portugal Bruno at United? For me, he would never perform the same and would sell. I think he's overrated, says JSD. He's still our best player. I still think he's our best player. But I just think he's out of position. I hope I get proved wrong. Heartbeat of the worst United era, let him go, says I720 Gaming. Bruno will go next year and then watch Mainu, says 92 Waltzer. And Ray Cowley says, off topic, how many players do you think careers were tainted by being moved out of position? Valencia, Young, any that are not United related, says Ray. Mata. Putting Mata on the wing. What do you think? Ewan says, do you think to get the... No, I've done that one as well. Okay, I want to talk about what Roma have said about Jadon Sancho because I thought this was quite interesting as well. So, essentially, AS Roma director Massaro confirms that there are no changes since Monday, since Jadon Sancho's rejection. There are no conditions to proceed with this deal, especially as Sancho doesn't have the motivation to join Roma. He doesn't have the right motivation to come. Right now, it's just an idea. So effectively, Roma have wasted their time. Manchester United have wasted their time. Again, doing a deal for Sancho that he doesn't want to do. And I think we've done this about 3 times now. I think Juventus was one. I'm sure there was another one. Chelsea, certainly. We've sold Sancho about 4 times this summer. He just doesn't want to go to any of them. But I think he's, like Redstone says, there's no motivation because he's got no motivation. I think absolutely spot on. I don't think Roma were saying he's got no motivation. I think they were saying he's got no motivation to come to Roma. He's got no motivation to do anything other than to run his contract down. The strangest footballer ever. Somebody said to me, no, they said it on this stream. It feels like at some point there's going to be a Dele Alli type interview where he just exposes a real off-field issue or a dislike of football, because, and that's what always sticks in my mind, was when he had that 3 months where we never knew what the problem was, but we knew it wasn't an injury. He has got the will, well, maybe not anymore, but he certainly had the world at his feet when he came to Manchester United. He was regularly in the England squad, and to be in a position yet again where you're not playing football, and there's offers to go and play football. Obviously, it looks like he's running his contract down, but the motivation to play just doesn't seem to be there, does it? And there might be reasons for that, but I think it was Matic was saying that he didn't used to turn up for training on time. Judge ye not yet ye be judged, but there seems to be a barrier to his motivation to play football, whatever that is, and it's a waste. Obviously, we don't know. We're speculating, and I wouldn't criticise anybody for saying get the lazy shit out of our club, because we don't know the situation, and we quite rightly put Man United first. If he'd have gone, we might have the money to do deals. So United's not a charity, and he has earned a lot of money out of this football club. But I guarantee there's a reason behind all this that we're maybe not aware of yet. Because there's been so many offers for him to go and play football, and he just won't do it. Unless it just is the 300 grand a week and sitting on your arse and running the contract down so you make a load more money. I mean, how much money do you need? How much money do you need, Pete Phillips says, vindication, I told you we only needed 110, although we actually have made next summer's window easier as Bruno's replacement is already here playing, says Pete Phillips. Sheriff says, people forget that 2 seasons ago, Bruno held the club to ransom with interest from Bayern. And the club gave him a new deal. Bruno is not the hero, so we have to stop painting him as one. Whiny and not disciplined enough to be a 10, says Sheriff. It wasn't 2 years ago. It was after the FA Cup. It was a year ago. Basically, after the FA Cup, there was a load of stories about Bayern Munich, and he still had a number of years on his contract, and he was on £240,000 a week, and he ended up getting a pay rise to 300 grand a week, even though we'd had a shit season. It was a year ago. So, yeah, I mean, you're right to raise it. I mean, I'm not going to pass any further judgment, but it was a year ago. We'd had a shit season. He was on 240k a week, and they gave him a pay rise of 60 grand a week 12 months ago. I think when Sancho missed the penalty for England, it changed him. I could be wrong, and he could just be lazy, says Haz. Kylo says, I think Sancho is acting purely out of spite. He feels wronged by United, and he's going to take every penny by running down the contract. You know what it is, mate? I mean, I don't know whether that is it, but I think Garnacho might be considered to be doing the same thing. Maybe Anthony as well. Don't be like that. It's called bitterness. There's a lot of bitter people out there, and bitter people are never happy. How can you be wronged by a football club when they've paid you 300 grand a week for the last few years? How can you be wronged? You know, it's incredible. But there will be people around him maybe telling him he's been wronged. Maybe he'll feel he's been wronged or disrespected. Don't disrespect me. You know, a lot of footballers are like this. They're living, they're a brand, they're an island. You've disrespected me. Who are you? You know, it's... How can you be disrespected when you're playing professional football, which is most kids' dream, and you're being paid hundreds of thousands of pounds a week? And that is why some footballers live on a different fucking planet, because they think they're being disrespected, and they're so out of the loop of reality of what it means to get up every morning and not earn huge money and have to go to work and feed your kids and clothe your family and pay for heating. How do these footballers feel that they've been wronged or disrespected when they are playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world, being compensated hundreds of thousands of pounds a week, and have the privilege of being professional footballers? But you're right, they do think they've been wronged. They do think they've been disrespected. So they sit there and run contracts down and refuse to leave and things like that. It's not narcissistic behaviour, Moon. It's just out of touch. We create monsters when these kids, because they are kids, start given massive money and are surrounded by yes people who basically wipe their arse for them. They've got no concept of manners. They've got no concept of the real world. They've got no concept of what they've actually achieved because they've never lived in the real world. Like if you speak to a Gary Neville or a David Beckham or a Paul Ince, they'll tell you about earning YTS weekly wages of like £40 a week and cleaning the boots of Mark Hughes. So that when you make it, you know the journey and you appreciate it. But the modern young player has got no concept of what they've actually achieved. Like they don't realise that the money and the status is amazing. But they don't realise it because they've got no concept because they've been living in a bloody bubble. And it makes them detached. It makes them unrelatable. It makes them mercenaries. And they're surrounded by people who feed them that. And that's why some modern players, more and more, are totally isolated from the normal fan. They're not us. And I'm telling you now, when I was growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, they were. People like Gascoigne, you'd expect to see him walking down the street, one of the lads, and he was England's best player. Roy Keane, the same. You know, Ryan Giggs, the same. It was like you felt like they had a story in a background that could be us. And nowadays, some of these kids have been at United since they were 6. Some of them are, you know, it creates monsters. And I don't know whether we'll ever get that back, actually. It'd be great if we got footballers that actually you felt like... It's like, you know, we've seen it with Michael Carrick at away grounds with the United fans. Phil Jones. That's just a dying thing. Jumpers for Goalpost Bridge, says Red. They'll never know. Hi, Mark. Don't you think that Bruno's role at the club is a dual role because he's that good? Some games he'll play alongside Cunha and some games he'll play as a centre midfield like an NFL quarterback, says Yusuf. But you shouldn't have a player like that. Football is about discipline. If you watched Arsenal today, you haven't got one player doing two people's roles. That's like lunchtime with your mates and you go on the shit team because you bet you're as good as two players on the opposition. Mojo says, Sancho was supported by the club when he was facing certain personal issues and was out for more than 3 months. We never disrespected it. Mojo's a legend anyway, but that is a very good comment. I distinctly remember that time when Sancho was gone for 3 months. I think it was like October till January. United stand was here. We were live every day. And at no point through that 3 months did I see anybody say anything derogatory about Sancho. Even though we needed him, even though it was in the season, and even though at that point we still thought he was a good player, I never saw anybody say anything other than, you know, the club have behaved in the right way and we as fans have got to support him. I've also never known a time in my life where that's happened. A player has just gone for 3 months without being injured in a season. And the Man United fan base was absolutely brilliant. We supported him. Nobody ever questioned it. Many people assumed it might be mental health or something. So to end up here again with a player who's basically, you know, running his contract down, it is disappointing because I think, you know, you can only have the door slammed in your face so many times before you start kicking it. And I think United fans have behaved absolutely, and the club to a certain extent have behaved really, really well. But it's the same with Garnacho. We've backed Garnacho as well. But again, they're out of touch. They don't have the manners or the, you know, understanding of the world to appreciate that. Even if we don't bring anyone in, Bruno going helps balance our midfield because it means we'll play actual 8s and 6 in the pivot, not Bruno, who's a 10, says Brian. He'd have to replace him. Ray says, on Sancho, boring, proves his disdain for the club, but moreover his ability to toy with the fans. I could be off, but computer says no, says Ray. And Cat 1 youth player makes 40k a year. Mic drop, says Irvin. Really? No. No, you can't be 40,000 a week. Oh, a year. A year. That's not a bad wage for a Category 1 youth player. I thought it was a week for a minute. Brazilian players seem to have that appreciation, says i720 Gaming. You know why South American players... Do you know why we love South American players like Martinez and people like that? I mean, Garnacho does actually ruin it, but I don't know that Garnacho comes from South America, though, so that might be a different story. I don't know. Garnacho came from Atletico Madrid, didn't he? So I don't know the background of Garnacho and, you know, where he grew up and stuff like that. But the reason South American players are so appreciated by the English game is because they remind us of the Brian Robsons and the Roy Keanes and the Paul Inces and the Gary Nevilles and the David Beckhams and the Paul Scholes and the Ryan Giggs, because they are players that will have come from working class backgrounds who have worked really hard to get where they've got to, have gone through youth training systems, have cleaned people's boots and appreciate the journey. We don't have that in the English game anymore. People don't clean the boots. You're not allowed to do it. You're not allowed to do it. I remember like years ago, we're talking like, God, I don't know, late 90s. I remember having a job, right? And it was like insurance. And there was a 2-week period where you went training with all the new trainees. And it was like in a training room with loads of computers and stuff. And this guy said to us all, when you start in the office, you don't have to make the tea. And I put my hand up and I said, but surely that's expected because we're new. Like I said, I used to work in a factory and I had to make the tea when I was the trainee. And he said, no, but why should you make the tea because you're the trainee? You know, you're as valuable to them as everybody else. You know, if you want to make a tea and you're having a cup of tea, do it, but don't do the tea all the time. He said there's a worrying trend in modern days where the trainee makes the tea until the new trainee comes. And I thought to myself, so when I start in that office and I don't really know what I'm doing, the least I could do is make everybody a cup of tea because I'm learning from all of them. No, you're not allowed to. You don't do that. And that's the world we live in now, isn't it? Like, you used to clean the boots for the senior pros as part of your journey to the first team. Now, you don't do that anymore. Don't do that anymore. You know, that's not right. It's political correctness gone mad. But, no, getting back on point, I think that the reason Brazilian players and South American players, and we'll probably see it with Leon as well, actually, is because they will come from poor backgrounds or working class backgrounds. They won't have been in Manchester United's youth team since they were 6, you know, with parents turning up in Audis going, my son's going to play for Man United, when's he going to get his contract? Privileged. I see it in youth football all the time. These people will have come from, you know, playing in the back streets or on the beaches and stuff like that. So they've got that hunger and they've got that appreciation and they've got that desire and, you know, understanding of the journey. And that's why we relate to South American players now when they come over and they play with passion and fire because they appreciate what they've got. Brazilian players seem to have that appreciation, says Gaming. Would you rather keep Bruno another season than get Amorim the midfielder he wants and not just some third choice, says Yank? Well, it sort of fits in with what I'm saying. I don't think nothing will happen with this Saudi story, even though I would agree that they do want him. But we haven't got time to do this. I mean, I'd be terrified if I heard on Monday that Bruno is going to Saudi and we've got 1 week to replace him. I'd be like, how the bloody hell are we going to do that in a week? We take 6 weeks to buy a player. How are we going to get 2 in a week? No. Maybe Ten Hag called Sancho bro instead of bruv. How much would United pay for Nani now? Says it all, says Chris. With respect to Pete, we definitely needed 2 pacey 10s who can carry the ball, and the ones we got are beyond transformative. Cunha and Mbermo is a dream, says Lee. Thank you, Lee. And thank you very much for that as well. Garnacho was born and raised in Spain, says Michael. Thank you very much. Glenn C says, weeks after Sancho hugged Ten Hag when he came back, his people put out leaks saying Ten Hag didn't have permission to talk about Sancho in a presser, says Glenn C. And are we forgetting the AFCON this season? Even if we got Belieber, don't sell Bruno. He's our captain, says Sam. And Haz says, I don't get why footballers do this. If I got the chance to be a footballer, I would genuinely be on minimum wage just for my dream to be a footballer. You say that, Haz. You say that. But right, you become a footballer. You get an agent. And that agent is in your ear all the time telling you, he's getting this. He's getting that. They're disrespecting you. You should be getting this. Why are you getting that? Why is he getting that? Why aren't you in the team? Why is my client not in the team? Oh, they're interested in you. Oh, I've got this boot deal. And suddenly you become a grade A twat. Because that's the modern game. That's how it works now. You're a brand. Why are they getting this? Why are they getting that? I think it's commendable how successful clubs deal with it. And Man United have had a real problem dealing with it for a very long time. A very long time indeed. Little bit of breaking news here as well. Perfectly well timed. Thank you from Matt, producer. He says that there is a story coming in from Mullock Mirror, which is Simon Mullock, saying that Galatasaray made a late bid to sign Lammens, but he wants a move to Old Trafford. I mean, look, we don't move on players now unless they want to come to us. And whilst that's verification and validation for Manchester United, I don't see it as a surprise because we don't move on players unless they've made their mind up to come to us. It's good because Galatasaray would be able to offer him more money because of their tax system. But I believe he was also wanted by some Italian clubs as well. So, look, we're in for a very, very interesting 24 hours because it's all about the game. And once that's out the way, we've got a game on Wednesday as well. And then we've got a game on Saturday. But around all that, we have a transfer window. And I think we're going to get Lammens. I think we need to get a midfielder as well. Bruno has already been replaced. He's now just filling in the centre midfield. Will we actually get a midfielder before the window closes, even if it's a loan, says Daz? Time is running out, but we do need it. As I said this morning, I don't want to repeat myself, but we do need it. Juan says, would you like Baleba and Mainu midfield next season? I don't think we're going to get Baleba. I read this morning that Real Madrid are monitoring Wharton for next summer, but I don't think we'll get Baleba. I think that what's happened with Baleba is we've made a move. He wants to come to Man United, but next summer, other clubs will make a move. Maybe Chelsea, maybe Arsenal, maybe Liverpool, maybe PSG. And I don't think there's any guarantee that he'll choose us, especially if we're not in Europe. So I don't think there's any... I'm not even thinking about Baleba coming to Man United next summer because I think we've got about as much chance as anybody else. I don't think there's a pre-agreement. I don't think he's got a Man United obsession. I just think we approached him. And of course, you're going to want to go from Brighton to Man United for a multitude of reasons, financially as well. But I don't think we've got any guarantee of getting him next season, really. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't. Bloody hell, 18,500 people watching on a Saturday night. I tell you what, it's been a hell of a week. And, you know, I never stop appreciating what we've built, game changers. And I do want to just say as well, the United stand was first. So that's football's had a massive win this week, getting the Bundesliga rights. And the highlights package is going to be great next week. It's incredible. I still have to pinch myself that what we built has Bundesliga TV rights. It's incredible. But I have to say, as amazing it is for That's Football, and that's everybody, you know, we've got Liverpool fans there, Arsenal fans, Chelsea. That's Football wouldn't exist if the United stand wasn't here. And I have a lot of people say to me in this industry, such and such wouldn't have a career if it wasn't for you. And they slag you off all the time. And they wouldn't have a career if it wasn't for you. And they wouldn't have a career if it wasn't for you. And I sort of sit there and go, what do you want me to do about it? They've got to live with that. If they don't believe that, that's up to them. I think we all know the truth. But so what? I don't live a bitter life. But where I can make a difference is here. That's Football, Bundesliga rights is absolutely fantastic. But I will say, on behalf of That's Football, United stand came first. And there is no That's Football and Bundesliga rights if there is no United stand. So massive thanks to all of you lot, especially those who've been with us from the start. But that doesn't matter because we're still growing anyway. But the United Stand started with one show a week at 8 o'clock with about 10 people watching 10 years ago. So anything That's Football achieves is directly because of this community. So big shout out to you. It's been a crazy 24 hours, and there's a hell of a lot more to come. It's incredible some of the conversations we've been having over the last 6 months. And I've been going up to the studio in Manchester, and they've been going, "Why are you asking to do us this? Why are you asking us to do that?" And I'm like, it will all come clear. It will all become clear, and there's a lot more to come. My dream is to get TV footage on here, but that's going to be very hard. You know, you're dealing with the bloody Glazers and the Premier League, but you never know. You never know. Jerry says, well, Mark, we should not agree with PC. In reality of all truth and work will get us through, I think. Anyway, thank you for all the years of work. You're an inspiration. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate that. Andre Gomez says, Sancho is a sad, sad man. He got treated like a king when he came. He got given months off, days off, something you wouldn't get with any other job, and yet he sits there sulking, blaming everyone else for his downfall. Grow up, says Andre. Thank you very much for that. Okay, I wasn't intending to be live that long tonight because I've got a few things on. We have got a 10 o'clock show tomorrow morning. Seb's game has been postponed, so I get to do the 10 o'clock show. So I'm going to end the show there, but there's a couple of questions coming in anyway, and there was something I wanted to say sort of in the after show as well. So thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe, and don't forget tomorrow is a match day, so we've got watch along, etc. Laith says, do you see the Premier League giving you TV rights? I think the Bundesliga have been very, very clever. Very, very clever. They want eyes and they want to grow their awareness. It's perfect to link up with the biggest football community on YouTube who are passionate, engaged and love football. It's an absolute open goal. The difference with the Premier League is they don't need to do that. The Premier League don't need to do that. I watched Man City against Spurs today on TNT. James Trafford should have been sent off, and at half time, there's no replay of it. So the Premier League are not bothered about how their brand is doing. VAR is an absolute joke. Loads of teams are passing out from the back, making mistakes, but it's still the best league in the world by a long way. So until the brand Premier League needs to do things, it won't. It's too powerful. Like, there's a lot of things wrong with the Premier League and they won't do anything about it. So I think it's a difficult one. Vibor says, my cousin passed away due to cancer. This community is so helpful in dealing with real stuff. Thank you for building it. I wish you all the successes, Vibor. Mate, thank you very much for sharing that with us, and I'm sorry to hear that. But it is a real life community, like you say, and it is a big help to everybody. So thank you for sharing that with us, Vibor. And I hope you and your family are doing okay. Will you be doing an FC 26 United career mode? Again, shout out to That's Football. Just keep an eye on FC 26 and stuff. We've got some exciting stuff coming up. Yes, I will. Have you ever nearly left the United Stand? Yes, there's a video. There's a video out there. Very early days when it was sort of me and Drawty. Yeah, I left for about 2 weeks and I wasn't going to come back. And it was very early days. I struggled with... it's not relevant now, but there was certain other channels that, you know, were doing me head in, and I just thought, this is not for me. Thank you very much for that. We've had 27,000 votes on the Bruno to Saudi deal, but we've never had 20,000 people watching. That's blowing my head. I suppose people come in and out, don't they? I've never thought... It's not the same 17,000 watching now. It will be dipping up and down as people come in and out, won't they, I suppose? I never thought of it like that. So 27,000 votes. Would you sell Bruno to Saudi? 68% say yes. 32% say no. Wow. That is incredible. With a week left in the window, 68% of 27,000 people would sell Bruno Fernandes. I'd have done it at the start of June. Makes sense at the start of June. I don't think he's a midfielder. You get money, you get a decent goalkeeper, a decent midfielder. But with a week left in the window, I think it would be terrible. Do you still keep in contact with Draughty, says James? Bit like McCartney and Lennon, it sort of hit a point, I think, creative people do. And we did part ways and we didn't talk for quite a while. But I can honestly say that we have respoken. What's the word? We're in a better place now than it was, which I'm very happy about. But you know, things get said, rightly or wrongly, and I just don't want bitterness in my life. I just don't. I think there's just so many things that, you know, you learn as you get older, and I just don't want it. It's a negative energy, and I don't want it. And rekindled, reconnected, yes, definitely. So I don't, you know, who knows? Never say never. But no, it's nice that that's happened because I just don't want that. I don't want that, and I think, you know, that would be my recommendation to anybody. I just don't want that. Anyway, remember me when you're co-hosting with Gary Neville on Sky, says Marriott. I mean, look, a bit of advice. I don't know why I don't know why content creators go on the mainstream or the radio. I don't understand what you're doing. I don't understand what the play is. You're working for somebody else and you're not getting anything out of it. I think if you're Gary Neville or you're Jamie Redknapp or you're Rio Ferdinand, you're getting a lot of bloody money out of it. But I don't know why content creators do it. I mean, I had a radio show on Talk Sport, but I was the first person to do it. You know, that was my show. I came up with the idea. It was my show. Somebody is now doing it, just changing the name. But that was my concept. That was my idea. And it was a stupid idea. But I did it because I wanted to try something new. And it was a mistake. It was stupid. So I speak from a point of experience. You know, I'm not going to start telling you my plans on a show like this, but you'll see them soon. I've got to tell you this story because I'm still not convinced it's true, but I don't know whether I find it funny or scary. So a friend of mine went to a Greek island a couple of weeks ago, and while they were there, they really liked it. So, but before they went, there was I think it's like I think of it like the equivalent of I don't know where they did it. Let's say it was like Instagram or something, or Facebook or something. It was like one of these notice boards for that area that you can join. And basically you can post up and say, I'm going to that Greek island. Can anybody give me ideas for like taxis or things to do? And anyway, that's the story, just to give you the background, because I didn't go to the Greek island. It was just a friend. And they said, I went to this and I was on this notice board before I went, and I've not left it. And I got this notification the other day. They've been back from Greece for like a week and a half. And he said, look at this. And it was a screenshot from the notice board from this person, let's say, you know, Doreen user 212. And she's like, presuming this is she. And they might have been joking, or it might be scarily true. And they basically put it on this Greek island notice board in the UK, on this social app. I'm flying out to, let's say, Crete in the next 2 weeks on Monday, and I'm blind. I'm looking for somebody on the island who can basically be with me for 2 weeks to drive me around and, you know, basically be a companion whilst I'm on the island to help me get around. And your first thought is, that's a really, you know, interesting post, because there obviously are, well, I'm not saying they're lying that they're blind. So let's say they are blind, and if they're going on their own and they're going to an island they've never been before, let's be honest, you know, whether they have been there before or not, it doesn't make much of a difference. But they obviously need somebody to help them around. You can't take your dog on the plane. But we were both saying, the thing is, like, who's going to vet those people? So old you know, Steve from Crete might go, this is an opportunity to turn up at the airport, take a traveller's checks, you know, take a luggage and a laptop. It's, I was just blown away by the potential dangers of that. Like, I get why, if you're blind and you're going to Crete on your own for 2 weeks and you get there and you need someone to drive you around and be a companion, but you might want to vet them first. You can't just meet them off the airport and go, here I am. Like, they could steal everything. They could steal everything. But apparently, he said to me, it's legitimate. He showed me the actual notice board. I was like, it's scary. It's scary how people put themselves into dangerous situations. People like that end up being horror stories in the Daily Mail. Mojo says, last day of the window, Bruno to Saudi, Belabor to United, Mojo bomber. Imagine it. I mean, look, anything's possible, but I don't think so. Zane says, Belabor, I mean, I'll sell him, get baseball as a replacement, perfect replacement. Boom, says Zane. Thank you very much for that. Okay, I gotta go. Thanks everybody for watching. Really appreciate. Have you got World Cup 26 rights? Yeah, I've got the Olympics as well. No, come on. Let's be. We've done absolutely incredible to get Bundesliga. We're talking, I mean, top 5 league in the world. We've got rights for it. It's incredible. I mean, I have to pinch myself. So I don't think it's. I don't think we're going to top that for a while, but let's wait and see. Thank you, everybody. Hope you have a great evening, day, morning, whatever you're doing. Don't forget to watch along tomorrow, and we have got a 10 o'clock show for you too as well. Speak to you all in a bit. Thanks for watching.